Okay, so today I'm going to be working on a blue winged teal. This bird is about ready to be put back together. It's still wet. This is going to be a flying mount, flying to the right. And what I'm going to be demonstrating in this video is how to completely put this thing back together. So got my bird. I've got my bird body here. We're going to do some modifications to this. This is just a very basic teal body. As you can see, nothing fancy about it. Got my wire for my wings and my legs. I've got my thread. I've got my instant preserve. We'll be using a little bit of silicone to help glue the head back in place. And then I'm going to be using a technique that I learned not too long ago that I really enjoyed it. So using the real head, the real skull, and then the vertebrae. And then that's going to allow us to maintain the head in a lifelike position. It's not going to allow us to position this head as though it was not real, and it'll give us the proper neck length for the bird. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, so I have my bird skin and the head and vertebrae in the degreasing bath right now. So they're going to be in there for probably half an hour, and then I'm going to rinse it and give them another bath. And so in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I am going to prepare the bird body, right? So here's just a nondescript little small bird body. Can be used with lots of birds. This is just your basic teal body, or I'm going to use it on a teal. I've got some casting lines here that I'm going to clean up a little bit around the neck, and then I'm going to carve out some relief areas for the legs and the wings. So just going to use standard Dremel with a sanding bit. This works really, really well. Okay, so I've carved down or smoothed down the cast lines, and I've sort of shaped that neck material. It was just excess material that I was cutting off. And so now I want to, since this is going to be a flying mount, I'm going to carve a few reliefs for the wing bones, and then I want the legs to lay nice and flat. So I'm going to sand out just a little bit of relief area for those. So important to remember which side goes out. So this would be the breast side. This is all the muscle. And if you recall, if you watched the skinning videos, that wing joint is hidden right up in here underneath the breast muscle, but it's connected more towards the back of the body. So I'm going to carve out some relief areas along the back of this body here. All right, so a couple spots like that. I'm also going to carve out a relief for the neck, because we've got the crop, and it comes down like this. So I'm going to carve out a relief for the neck, and then the legs are going to connect via wire about halfway up the body. So, and we want them to lay nice and flat. We don't want them to stick out. So I'm going to carve a little bit of a relief here. Right, so we've got those areas, and so I'm just going to use the Dremel. You could use a knife if you don't have a Dremel. This stuff carves pretty easy, but I'm going to use a Dremel. Okay, so it is a bit messy, but carves pretty easy. So I've got a relief for the neck. So my neck is going to sit in there. Let's see if I have some neck material here to demonstrate. So the neck material will the neck will mount nice and smooth right in there. And I've got my reliefs for the wings. So when I wire my wing bones in, the wings will have a nice pocket. They're going to be up, out, flying. And then I've got nice grooves where my leg bones will be wired in, and they'll lay nice and flat against the body. So now my body is prepped. Made sure that I'm pretty even across the top here. Slight irregularities in the mold, but we took care of that. So my body's prepped. So now it's just on with the degreasing. Once the degreasing is done, we will start to put this together. In the meantime, if you haven't watched the wiring videos, I do have some videos on how to wire up a bird, so you'll learn how to wire the legs and the wings in preparation for mounting. And so go ahead and watch those if you haven't seen that already. Otherwise, stay tuned for putting this bird together. Okay, so I prepared the head, cleaned it. I run a piece of wire through the center of the vertebral column, put a little loop on the end there, as you can see, and then that's what I'm gonna glue to the skull. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. I'm just using a little bit of crazy glue. Okay, so I've glued the wire in place there, you can see. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this with cotton to rebuild that muscle. I'm also gonna treat it with some borax, and then I'll fill the skull with epoxy sculpt, which is what I'm gonna set the eyes in, and it'll help keep the mouth closed. This is gonna be a closed mouth position, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have applied a liberal coat of borax to the entire skull and neck. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna rebuild that muscle with some cotton, and I'm just gonna use some wax coated thread to attach it. So now I've got my bird neck and my head. I'm gonna fill the skull with epoxy to set the eyes. Of course, I'm gonna cut the wire after I set it, but this will allow me to bend my neck in a natural-like position, and it ensures that I have the proper length. You can see I have my bird skin. It's been degreased and dried, and it's ready to mount. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this over and add an ample supply or amount of borax. Oh, way more than I wanted to add there, but that's okay. We'll coat this nice and good. And get the neck. Little shot here. Okay, so I have the wings and the legs wired up, and now we're gonna go ahead and insert the neck, and then I'll set the eyes last thing. So just gonna open this up here, slide that through. Just like that. And now I have my wire to set my neck. So I'm going to cut this at a little bit of an angle. Got my bird body here. I'm going to go ahead and set my neck. And then set the wire, the wings, and everything else. Wings and legs. Here. Straighten that out a little bit. bird is starting to come together. Let's see, I'm not happy with that. Okay, so we have everything set. We've got a nice natural bend in the neck. We'll fix that as we move along, but now we're gonna set our wings and our legs. All right, so I'm gonna take wing number 1 here. Take this, we don't need all of this wire. So I'm gonna this out just a little bit. Cut it about right there. And I like to take this bone, the head of the bone out anyways, right before I set my wire. I'm gonna crush that. And we'll put a little extra, everything's flying around here. Put a little extra preservative there. And we're gonna take this and come right through here. There, and take some extra wire off of here. Make sure this is doing what we want it to do before we commit. And it's looking good there. Oh, there's some feathers. Lock that in place. Okay, we'll take the other wing here. Let's get it unhooked. There we go. That's my leg bone. Here's my wing. Fold this a little bit more. Open this up. Cut that about here. Take this head of this bone off. Got a sharp edge there, so I'm gonna take that down. Take some instant preserve and run this one right through here. There we go. Our bird is starting to come together. Okay, so now I'm going to sew up the belly. I've just got my needle and thread, so I've doubled up my thread. And just going to go ahead and start closing this up. And I'm going to work from the top down. All I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and just get a little bite. Careful not to grab the feathers. And you're just making the two ends of the skin meet. You don't have to pull your sutures in super tight. Take your time and don't pull too hard. Just put it together nice and easy. Now you see it start to close up here. Key patience. Don't rush. Little by little, it comes together. The birds are singing. Sounds spread everywhere. Everything goes on. And I'm doing taxidermy on my back porch. It's beautiful. I caught feather there, so I'm doing that. Okay, good. All right. Lots of gnats out here outside. I'm going to do this inside, but I figured it was a beautiful day to do it outside. So I'm containing flies, gnats. But it's okay. Alright, so now we're to the point where feathers are starting to look like the it is. So I'm just going to use a pin to make sure that I don't wrap any feathers in my suture. That way you can't see the same line as color. It's a little tricky as you start to close this up now because it's starting to tire. But just be patient. Remember, you don't need to pull this thing together real tight. You just need to close both ends of the skin. It's not like you're stitching out baseball glove or something that's going to need a lot of pressure. You're just holding these two ends of the skin closed. Just like that. You can see it's feathers. It's a little work. Just caught that seam completely disappeared. end here. It's easy to want to just hurry up and finish and get a little sloppy. All right, so you just have to trust the process and keep doing what you've been doing. So there, we have a closed up bird. And can't see the suture line. Right. And the difference between good taxidermy and great taxidermy, especially on birds, is the finishing work, right? So the primping and printing that takes place once you think you're done. Of course, I still have to work on the head, but we'll take care of that. What I'm going to do now is mount this on a finishing beam or post so that I can do the head. Okay, so I've filled the head with epoxy. As you can see, now I'm going to set the eyes. Now we just have to set the skin. So after a few hours of positioning feathers, here is the final product. The tape is to hold the feathers in place as the skin is drying. You can see those wires will be pulled out. There's some pins here that will be pulled out once it dries, but this is the final product. And so you just have to trust the process. It looks pretty rough as you're working through it, but eventually it comes together. Again, like I said earlier, the difference between good taxidermy and great taxidermy is how much effort you put into I call it post-production, but tweezing feathers and pulling everything, pulling the skin into the right place. This bird still needs to dry probably another week, and I got to do some final touch-up paint, but it's in its final pose, and it'll be hung on a piece of driftwood on the wall when it's all said and done.